Hey everyone, Tech Gamer here. For this video, we're going to try and reach the maximum altitude for a private jet. So let's go ahead and select a world map, and we're going to go ahead and select a runway here. We'll go ahead and fly from, let's do Newark Liberty International. We'll leave the flight conditions clear and no wind. I'm going to go ahead and check our plane here. We're going to be doing a Textron Aviation Cessna Citation Longitude jet. So this jet has two engines mounted in the back, and it's a private jet. We'll select red for one of the presets here, just because I like red. And we are good to fly. So the max altitude for this jet is about 45,000 feet. But I don't anticipate we'll actually be able to make it that high. Just because, realistically, I think the most I can probably get out of this plane is 35,000, 37,000 feet before there's just not enough air to keep us moving. But we'll give it a shot. So while we're loading here, we need to come up with a name for our jet. I think we'll call it Tech Airlines for the purposes of this flight. So we're starting out at Newark Liberty International, and we are in position on the runway. So the first thing we need to do is just check that we are ready to go. Flaps are at the 7-degree position. I'm going to go ahead and turn them off for this takeoff. Typically, you would leave the flaps on 7%. It helps you get off the ground a little faster, but I'm not going to do that for this case. So let's set the flaps at 0%, so they are not engaged. And we need to, first thing we need to make sure we do is turn off the parking brake. So we have to look down, and there's the parking brake. So let's go ahead and select it. And parking brake is off. So we are ready to start moving forward. Right now our engines are idle. And let's go ahead and get ready to ramp them up. So I've got just adjusting my trim here. We'll probably make it 7% up, just to give us a nice steady rise in altitude as we take off. The biggest trick when taking off with any plane is you need to keep it straight on the runway, because the plane will tend to move to the one side as you pick up speed. So we obviously have to keep an eye on that, and you do that by adjusting the rudders. So as you can see, we're drifting over to the right, so we'll compensate a little bit here. And we are almost at takeoff speed, so we can go ahead and rotate. And away we go. So we'll switch back to the outside here and bring the landing gear up. Hopefully everyone on this flight knows what they're in for and what they signed up for when they got on board. So we're just going to continue a nice gradual climb over New Jersey and try and see if we can attain our max altitude. For this part, I'm going to keep the engines at 100%. You'll note that as we get higher in the sky, the engine performance, where it says 100% for engine 1, engine 2, will start to slowly tick down. And once we get up to our max altitude, probably around 90% or so, we'll probably end up stalling out. That's my prediction. But let's see what happens. So again, I'm just basically keeping the nose upward and doing that by adjusting the trim. So as we want to go higher, we can just adjust the trim. You don't actually have to do the flight stick part of that. You can just keep the trim adjustments going And as we start to level off or drop altitude, we just adjust the trim again. As we get higher, I'll probably switch to a full manual control just to make sure I can keep my altitude going, because it gets harder as the higher you fly. When you fly in a jumbo jet, it's not that big of a deal, but in this little jet, it's a lot harder to keep your altitude than you think it would be. So we're passing 10,000 feet and continuing our climb. The one thing of note is you need to watch your airspeed, and you could slow down very quickly. But in this case, we're around 250, so we're doing good. Engines are performing at 100%. I only set the fuel. I left it set at the default of 50%, just to keep the weight of the plane down, because that helps get higher altitude. If you set the fuel at 100%, it gets difficult to keep the plane higher in the sky because of the extra weight. Fuel is heavy. So we're passing 15,000 feet. Just give everybody a little bird's eye view of the area around us. And continuing to climb. Adjusting the trim a little bit to 11% will help us keep our altitude rising. Because as I said, it requires constant feathering, basically, of the trim and the flight stick to keep our altitude increasing. I could just put it on autopilot, but nah. So as you can see, as we are gaining altitude, if you look at the engine 1 and engine 2, the performance is actually gone down 1%, 2% now, and back up to 1% again. It will adjust accordingly as the altitude increases. And if you pull back hard and less airflow gets into the wing to the engines, obviously the performance decreases. So as you can see, we're continuing past 20,000 feet. We're up to 21,400, and our engines are performing almost optimally at 98%. That number will drop considerably as we continue to get higher. So we have to keep an eye on our airspeed. As you can see, we're getting close to 200 now, which we're slowing down because we're getting higher in altitude and still trying to climb, so there's less air flow, which in turn is lowering our speed, max speed. So as you can see, the engine's rated performance is now dropped to 97%. And again, it keeps jumping between. So we're going to level out here for a little bit and try and pick up some speed. And then I'll continue my pitch back higher. So we're leveled at about 23,770 feet, and we're passing 250 miles per hour here. And we'll go ahead and pitch back up, so passing almost at 25,000 feet right about now. And see, our speed is slowing again, so we need to keep an eye on that. Fuel's good. We've only lost 2% of our fuel. I could have probably set the fuel at 25% too, or even 10% realistically, and just to see if that made a difference. So our engine rated performance is now down 4% since liftoff, because as we gain altitude, there's obviously less air. We'll try and again level out and pick up some speed. This is where it becomes harder to maintain altitude and still continue to climb while balancing everything. So we're about to pass 30,000 feet very shortly. Engine performance is now down 5% from liftoff. As you can see, we're starting to get some drag behind the plane. That's that smoke that you see for showing up. It's just the airflow change, the air pressures and everything at 30,000 feet are significantly different. So you start to get a tail, like a con trail behind us. So here we are at 30,000 feet, continuing to climb. Engine performance is still acceptable for this altitude, 95%. But as you can see, our speed is slowly decreasing. And we'll eventually start to reach stall speeds. Passing 31,500 feet. I'm hopeful we can get to 40,000 feet, but given that my speed is slowing considerably, I'm not sure we're going to be able to pull that off. We may have to try and force it. Passing 33,000 feet right now. We'll go ahead and change camera angles here in a minute so that you guys can see what's going on behind us. So as you can see, we're starting to develop basically a contrail behind us because of our altitude. So we're going to go ahead and let's pitch up again, see if we can get some more altitude. Our speed is slowly becoming an issue. We're slowing down. We're at 175 miles per hour. We're going to probably stall out here. And the plane will probably lose control in a second. But we can at least try and have some fun regardless. Passing 35,500 feet. And we're starting to level out again because our speed is not enough. Our engine performance is at 92%. So we're having some obviously issues maintaining altitude at this point. 145 miles per hour. We're definitely probably going to stall out here. I'm going to try and force it up a little bit. Let's see if we can hit 38,000 feet. I'm not even sure we're going to be able to get to that. Not even 37,000 feet. We're at 36,500. And we're stalling out. I'm not able to maintain control, and our altitude is dropping. So we're not in control right now. There, I've got control back. Well, might as well go ahead and have some fun. So we hit about 36,500 feet. And we've leveled out again. We'll try one more time to get some altitude here. I don't think it's going to happen, though. Passing 36,500. And 37,000 feet. 37,500. Just barely cleared it. And we're stalling out again. We're only at 100 miles an hour. So, yeah, that's about max altitude. Seems to be about 37,500 feet. And we're going to go ahead and have some fun here. So we'll power it, throttle the engines down. And we will go ahead and put the landing gear down in a second here. And we'll ramp the engines back up again to see if we can get the performance higher now that we're lowering altitude, but we're still only at 93%. Got a nice trail of airflow behind us. And passing lower 33,600 feet. Now at this point I'm really just having some fun here because we can't seem to go any higher than we did. So 37,500 feet was basically our max altitude. for this jet. So let's go ahead and put the landing gear down. And let's go ahead and put the flaps down at full as well. And let's see if we can make it to the ground in this flight configuration. This should be good. I don't anticipate we will. I'd like to thank everyone for flying with Tech Airlines today. We know you had a choice in flying with us, and it looks like you chose the wrong one. So as we pass 29,000 feet, our speed is accelerating, 250, passing 300 miles per hour at 22,000 feet. 20,000 feet, I anticipate our plane will break up any second here. We are at max speed, well beyond max speed, and the stresses on the plane are probably enormous. Passing 12,000 feet, or seems to be our max speed is 362 miles per hour, with the gear down and the flaps up. Passing 7,000 feet, and that's the end of the plane. We overstressed the aircraft and caused critical damage. Unfortunately, everyone on board this flight perished, and I'll probably be dealing with a lot of lawsuits. So thank you everyone for watching this video. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and I will see everyone soon.